4, 3, 2, 1. KenCast.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to another KenCast. This is kind of a surprise KenCast. It's great to see you all here today. We're going to have some fun. Just going to be a chill Friday discussion. Going to be talking about new news, Ralph Macchio's thoughts on a potential Cobra Kai successor. We've got Star Wars news, Indiana Jones news, and of course, a lot of you have been wondering, how many times does Daniel say Mr. Miyagi to Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid movies? A lot of you voted. We are going to go over the results and tell you the true answer. In fact, I'm going to show you the true answer. So this is going to be a lot of fun today. Thank you for joining me. It's wonderful to see you. Peter from Cobra Kai Companion Podcast. Hey, Peter. Happy Friday. Indeed. Yes, it's fun today. Sebastian, it's wonderful to see you. Oh, Peter says it's pre-birthday celebration. Yes, thank you for remembering, Peter. Tomorrow is my birthday. So normally we do a KenCast on the weekend. Plus it's, holiday, lots of holidays going on right now. So I thought I'd just do one today, and that would free up the weekend. And then after next week and beyond, we can kind of get more into the normal schedule. MOTU Thunder. Hey, Ken, it's been a long time. It's great to see you. Yes, thank you for coming and thanks for chatting. Sebastian, it's great. It's great. Always great to see you, Sebastian, and all of you as well. Nerd World. Hello, Ken, in the chat, and happy Easter to everyone. For me, as an Orthodox, it is next week. Very good. We have a lot of holidays happening right now. So whatever you're celebrating, have a very happy holiday spring season. Happy Easter, happy Passover, all of that. And Robana, thank you. And thanks for being a channel member, Robana. Guys, I want to thank all of you for watching. It's just wonderful to do these live streams and to get your thoughts on everything that's going on. And I want to thank everyone for subscribing. If you're watching this right now and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. That way you'll get notified if you hit that notification bell of everything going forward. And then some of you actually support the channel through memberships. And thank you, Robana, for being a member. Every little bit helps. It helps keep my software and equipment running and upgraded as needed. And hopefully we can do lots of fun things. For instance, last week we did a live stream broadcast from the South Seas apartments, from Daniel LaRusso's actual apartments. And all of that support helps fund equipment to make that better. So we are going to be doing a lot of more on location streams. I'll be getting your thoughts and polls on where you want me to go. And I think that would be a lot of fun, especially in the run up to the final season of Cobra Kai. We can all get in the mood, and who knows, maybe there'll be some Cobra Kai events happening and we can do some live streams from there as well. Nerd World, Ken, you are an Aries. I am, at least in the traditional. I heard some rumor that they changed the horoscopes, or they changed the zodiac signs. I'm not sure if there's like a new updated zone, but traditionally, yes, I'm an Aries, whatever that might mean to you. Darkest Hour, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Tig Terry Silver Rocks, the executive producer of this show. Thank you so much, Tig Terry Silver Rocks. I hope you're feeling well. I hope you're doing well. And thank you for the special holiday wishes. Jaws says, happy birthday, Big K. Jaws, thank you so much. Everyone on Twitter, Jaws comes up with all these amazing memes that I'm so flattered about. They're pretty funny. And well wishes. I am going to put up something that Jaws posted today. We're going to talk about it. Peter says, how can I forget April 8th? It's become a date that has been cemented in my memory. Yes. And Peter, I want to say, from Cobra Kai Companion Podcast, gave me one of, if not the most special birthday present anyone has ever given me. I went to cover Paley Fest. So this time last year, there was almost the entire Cobra Kai cast was at Paley Fest. And Peter invited me to come down and help cover that. And that was just a fun time. But he introduced me to Thomas Ian Griffith, or Terry Silver. It was a great moment, and it was just a wonderful time. I got to meet the big three. It was just a great birthday present. So thank you so much, Peter. And if you're not listening to the Cobra Kai Companion Podcast and you're a fan, then you need to go over there. So you can subscribe on YouTube or go to the podcast app of your choice and listen. He's just got so much great stuff. Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. Lisa Barrett, hey, Ken, and everyone in the chat. Wonderful to see you guys. AEH, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. For the birthday wishes. Thank you so much. Well, so today we have a number of things to talk about. I want to thank everyone for joining us. We have news. We have some comments that Ralph Macchio made about Cobra Kai successors, spinoffs. We have Star Wars, Indiana Jones news. We have the long-awaited answer to the poll I posted on the YouTube community. So that's another thing. Stay subscribed to me so you get to see these quizzes and polls. I asked, this was the question: how many times does Daniel LaRusso say Mr. Miyagi to his face in the first 3 Karate Kid movies? It sounds like probably a lot, right? He says that quite a lot. But I have the specific number, and we're actually going to watch every single instance of it, and we are going to learn the results. We're going to show the poll. We're going to see what most people voted, and we're going to see if the actual results is the same. If what everyone is thinking is actually true. So that will be a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, let's just get into some news.
KenCast news.
Okay. Well, okay. So the first bit of news is a lot of you I recognize as loyal viewers of the KenCast, and you may not be aware, but I have started posting KenCast as a podcast. So when we have discussions here and interviews, I've been posting that in audio form so that you can listen anywhere. You can download a podcast, or it's easier and more accessible if you want to listen on the road. So with any podcast app that you have, it's available. So go follow the KenCast podcast, leave a 5-star review if you're inspired to do so. That would be of great help to me. You can also go to kencast.net. That is actually the website that will take you to the KenCast page if you want anything regarding KenCast. And then also for you live viewers and people listening to the podcast, you can email me if you need to with thoughts, requests, feedback at heykencast@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out if you want to do so outside the chat or outside the comments. Feel free to email me directly. So that's a ton of fun. Okay, we've got okay. Coming up I'm going to release an audio version of that amazing interview I did with David Shatraw. David Shatraw plays Tom Cole on Cobra Kai. He also plays a very similar character in Cobra Cole. If you haven't seen it, there's a link in the description. All Tom Cole Cobra Kai fans should check out Cobra Cole. But this audio version of the podcast will be released today. So be sure to follow, and then you'll get all kinds of new KenCasts in your podcast app. So definitely take a look. Now, this was last week. I don't know if you guys joined me last week. I did a KenCast on location from the South Seas Apartments. Now, this is in Reseda. These apartments still exist. This is Daniel's apartment complex from Karate Kid 1 and Karate Kid 3. They visited in Cobra Kai Season 1. And I thought this was just funny. Jaws actually pointed this out, where I was broadcasting and we ran into some fans from Chicago who had traveled all the way to Southern California to see the South Seas Apartments. And in the background, one of those fans is actually taking a picture with a crane kick from Karate Kid 1. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. So definitely, you never know what's going to happen on these live streams, KenCast. Obviously, you're watching right now. So definitely watch. We're going to go around, maybe go to some more places. I'll put up some polls to see where you want me to go next after the Reseda Apartments. I am located in the LA area. So any of these locations I have access to. And as long as there's a cell signal, data signal, we can go there. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Thank you for the comments, guys. Cobra Kai Underground. Yes, I saw it. It was cool. Thank you very much. Yes, and they did do an update on YouTube called Podcast. So all the KenCast lives have actually been considered now by YouTube and are now podcasts. So on the YouTube podcast channel, KenCast Live is a playlist with all of these. And so if you listen to podcasts on YouTube, you can listen to all of these and you can watch all of these. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Matt Moore with the super chat. Thank you, Matt. Very humble amount of support for your outstanding Miyagiverse content. Appreciate the entertainment. Matt, it's fantastic. It's so much fun. I have some comments from you because Matt Moore, ladies and gentlemen, went and checked. He checked to make sure that I was right on the number of times Daniel LaRusso said Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid movies. And so I appreciate that, Matt. And we'll show one of your comments a little bit later on when we get to those results. Matt knows the results because he watched them all and counted himself to verify. So thank you very much. Chosen Taguchi. Hello, Sensei Cole. Thank you. Thank you for calling me Sensei, Chosen Taguchi. It's an honor. Yeah, I'm very sorry what happened between you and Sensei Silver, Master Silver. Big T, some might call him. I wish you guys could patch that up. I have high respect for both of you. So, but thank you for joining us, Chosen. George, Dark, Cobra Cole too. Yeah, it's interesting. We had David Shatraw here. I'll go back and bring him up. So David Shatraw came on and we talked about this a little bit. And I think everyone involved, I think, is very open to there being a Cobra Cole too. So I think we just have to figure out, what does that look like? I personally, if we were to do it, I see like a larger story. That would be a lot of fun. So I think logistically and also budget wise, how do we pull that off? So I really appreciate your support. If you haven't seen Cobra Cole, the one that's out right now, look in the description for the link. I think you'll get a kick out of it. Robana asks, what is the location where Miyagi does his crunches? I think, that's a good question. I wonder if that's at the Mulholland Overlook. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. Someone here might know. Chime in if you know. Nerd World, multiverse of Coles. It could happen. There are a lot of Coles, right? Jaws, good to see you. That crane kick guy is also Miyagiverse. He is. That's very true. Thank you, Marinella, for the Cobra Cole support. I appreciate that. So anyway, guys, let's continue on our news for today. Some of you are Star Wars fans, so I just wanted to bring this up. We can get back to it a little bit later, but this was announced today. There are going to be 3 Star Wars movies. So a lot of fans of Star Wars have been kind of wondering what's been happening on the movie front. We haven't had any feature films that have been Star Wars. It's been series since Rise of Skywalker. So what is going on? Well, they announced 3 movies. Dave Filoni, who is currently heavily involved in a lot of Star Wars series, he's going to direct a Star Wars movie that culminates the TV shows. It's going to be set between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. And I think it's going to tie in with The Mandalorian and all the shows that are happening around that time period. Okay, the second movie. James Mangold is to direct a feature film based on The First Jedi. So he describes this as like a biblical epic that's going to go back in time, and we're going to see the first Jedi to wield the Force, which sounds really interesting. Someone had asked in a previous live stream what I thought might be a good way to go with Star Wars, or what I would do if I were working in Star Wars. And I answered, go back in time to the very early Jedi. I think that would be a great thing to do because it completely removes all the baggage and expectations of the stories that have been building up over these decades. And you can go back to the beginning and do something new and fresh and something mythical. So that's exciting. I'm a huge fan of James Mangold. And then there's also going to be a Jedi-centric film set 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker with Rey. So Daisy Ridley is returning as Rey. And this is going to be a new movie where she is going to start rebuilding the Jedi. So I don't know. It's interesting because the person who let me know about this morning is a friend to the KenCast, friend to me personally, and so many watching. Drew O'Halley texted me this information. He was the first person to let me know. And, he was interested in my thoughts. What did I think? And I have to be honest, I have done, and I'll I'll just be straight with you guys. I did a video comparing Cobra Kai to Star Wars. And the reason why we're bringing this up today is because Cobra Kai, I think, is one of those rare examples of a legacy sequel working. Of course, Cobra Kai is a legacy sequel to the Karate Kid universe, separated by decades from the original material. John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Heald have done an amazing job of taking an old intellectual property, a classic one, and updating it and paying tribute to it, but also exploring its full potential and making it very desirable for modern audiences. Those who remember the original Karate Kid movies and those who are new to the Cobra Kai series. It's really an amazing thing they've done. And I think it's an amazing example of how to do a legacy sequel right. They've done that. And I looked at the Star Wars, or at least the sequel trilogy, and tried to figure out what is it about Star Wars that's just not doing the same thing. You'll notice that with the Karate Kid fandom, everyone universally loves Cobra Kai. But with the Star Wars fandom, that's really not the case. Like a lot of the Star Wars shows and movies that have come out recently, it's divided the fan base. In fact, a lot of people are kind of numb to it right now and are maybe critical of the way that Disney right now has handled the the Star Wars franchise. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So my reaction to all of this new Star Wars news here, and I'll flash it up again if you're just joining, is it's exciting in a way. I'm a huge fan. I've seen all like the first 6 Star Wars movies so many times, especially the original trilogy. I've seen them so many times in my life. And I love this world, this universe. However, I kind of feel exhausted by it, and it almost seems very corporate-y. Right now, to me, I think that a lot of the Disney which is, I love Disney. I love this company that Walt Disney built. Some of the most amazing properties of all time, so many amazing moments. Though I think right now it feels like, I'm sorry, I don't know, this might be controversial, but the Marvel movies, not so much with Indiana Jones, but you have the Star Wars properties, and then you have like the remakes. They're doing live action remakes of all of the animated classics. It almost feels like these are kind of like ordered by a corporate assembly line. It's not necessarily coming from a place of creative motivation. And, it's almost like we've got to have these out. We've got to make so many of these movies to make money. And it's like they are trying to just throw all this money at all these creators to come together and make things that are, I don't know, at the end of the day, they kind of feel manufactured, manufactured blockbusters. And we'll get back to this, but because Jaws mentioned that it is Francis Ford Coppola's birthday today, and so we'll wish him a happy birthday. And I got a chance to work with Francis Ford Coppola on a project, and one of the things that he and George Lucas do, whether you agree or not, and you'll see there's Francis Ford Coppola is working on and just wrapped a new movie called Megalopolis. When they make something, they're at the point where they're going to make it the way they want to make it. They're interested in doing something new. They're always interested in experimenting. And so I think that's what a lot of people, whether you like their stuff or you don't like their stuff, I think you have to respect that they're always trying to push something forward. They're trying to do something new and experiment. And so on the Star Wars side, I think what we've seen is instead of Star Wars pushing forward and trying to do something new, whether it works or not for you, it's kind of trying to just rehash what we already know about Star Wars, which makes sense from a conservative corporate standpoint. So anyway, those are those are my initial thoughts. If you want to talk about them a little bit more later, that's fine. I don't know how many of you are Star Wars fans or not. Let me see what we've got for some comments. Matt Moore says, "Hey, I know someone that made a great short about how Star Wars could learn from Cobra Kai." Indeed, and I highly recommend that video. It's one of my videos, what Star Wars could learn from Cobra Kai. Check it out. I have 7 lessons that Star Wars can learn from Cobra Kai, and really any property that wants to do a legacy sequel. Cobra Kai did it right. Locust said Disney completely ruined the Star Wars story. Well, and I'll say this: there's so many talented people involved with the Star Wars Lucasfilm, but I think the problem is that the story isn't necessarily coming first. There's no plan for the story, or there's no consistency in storytellers. When George Lucas was in charge of Star Wars, even if he changed his mind, it would be consistent because it's all coming from him. The story, the world, everything's coming from him. So there's that integrity to the storyline. With when you have such huge corporations like Disney and Lucasfilm and so many people working on Star Wars and so many competing voices, you have that problem where there's maybe a lack of consistency. And if you don't have a clear plan that everyone's working from, then we're going to have storytellers going off in different directions. You might have seen that with the sequel trilogy, where you have Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker, and they all seem to be kind of competing against each other. And what direction is the story going? And I think that's the problem. There wasn't a plan from the beginning. There didn't seem to be that level of coordination from a story standpoint. And then in the end, I think you have a number of fans who kind of don't like that because they enjoy. That's one of the things they loved about Star Wars is the consistency. So again, if you enjoy it, that's wonderful. However, for whatever reason, I think we're at this point where a lot of longtime fans are just they don't know what's going on with Star Wars. Anyway, let's see. Locust says George Lucas made a beautiful story ending with Return of the Jedi. Anakin killing the Emperor and bringing balance to the Force is the prophecy foretold, and Disney brings him back for Rey and Kylo. Right. So, and that's another thing too. Like if you watch my video, what Cobra Kai can teach Star Wars, you'll see that in the Cobra Kai series, they do this amazing job of understanding the roots of the Karate Kid saga, why it's a popular story. It's an underdog story. It's overcoming adversity. These characters, Mr. Miyagi, Daniel LaRusso, Johnny Lawrence, have very strong character roots and motivations that tie in and connect with us all. And they realized that. John, Josh, and Hayden realized that when they did Cobra Kai. They realized that the reason why those movies were classics was because of these characters and because of the story. And so they honored that. They continued underdog story about bullying, redemption, struggling with different points of view, people with different points of view. And these great characters, Johnny Lawrence, Daniel LaRusso, eventually Kreese. And when those characters came back, everything tracked. Everything was right. It felt right. The actors had that chemistry still, and the characters were behaving in the way you would expect them to behave. So that, I think, is a great example, say, for Star Wars, where maybe some things changed. And I go into my video about why the roots of Star Wars is really based in the hero's journey. And I think what you're talking about there is these are very sort of archetypal story beats that very simple in the original Star Wars movies that were kind of glossed over, and they kind of didn't do the hero's journey with the sequels, and they got away from the roots of what makes a Star Wars story. And I think that's what I think that's what you're running into there. Javier, good to see you, Javier. I'm watching Cobra Kai right now. Daniel is really pissed off. Save Silver. Yes. Thank you very much. Save Silver campaign. Of course, we're Terry Silver fans here in the KenCast. Terry Silver, of course, was wrongfully incarcerated. We've done legal analysis on this, and all the other supposedly hero characters on Cobra Kai committed far more crimes than Terry Silver did. So, we're going to push our case. If you haven't seen the Save Silver campaign, we're going to, in fact, do I have the Save Silver campaign? Okay, I don't have it. Well, I've got to load this and prepare it. So anyway, Save Silver, hashtag Save Silver. Absolutely. We need to do that. Let's see. Great comments, guys. I'm looking at all your comments. Robana says, with all the series they're making, seeing an entire series on the life of Chewie would be fun, but I'd love to see them do that with Ewoks. Interesting. Very interesting. MOTU Thunder. They should never have killed Han Solo off in episode 7. Yeah, I don't know. I will say for me, the death scene was done well. And it would make sense if Han Solo were to die, it would be something like that. Someone he'd be vulnerable to, like a family member, his son. Like that makes sense. But yeah, the way it was done, and I think the timing in the story, I'm not a big fan of killing off huge legacy characters either, unless it's done right, because you run into this problem, then they're dead. And look what happened. It's like, oh, you killed off Han Solo, an amazing character. It's tough to use him again. In Rise of Skywalker, they brought him back kind of, but that kind of shows you, it's like, oh, there's this need to bring these characters back. We want to see them again. And so it has to be this weird thing if you're going to bring back Harrison Ford as Han Solo. So I think you have to be really careful when you kill off classic characters, because usually it seems like the audience and the creators regret it. Outside of that very dramatic story beat, in the future, they seem to regret not having that character around anymore. Just my thoughts on that. Clifford says, thank you so much, Clifford, for your super chat. Thanks for supporting the channel. Jedi Master Ked, in your opinion, who truly brought balance to the Force, Anakin, Luke, or Rey? Fascinating. That's really interesting. I would say probably Anakin, because it seemed like at that time the Sith were kind of in the background before Anakin. The Jedi were doing what they were doing, didn't have many problems, but it seemed like there needed to be that huge balance of the Jedi, which would be the light side of the Force, and the Sith, which would be the dark side of the Force. And so it seemed like that happened. And of course, we know that Anakin killed a lot of Jedi. So even though it's not it's a very grim prospect, but yeah, it looks like Anakin did bring balance. And I'm sure there are people who have thought even more deeply into all of that. So wonderful to see all your comments. Let's see. I wanted to go through some more news here. We've got Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Okay, there is a new trailer today. So this is the new poster. If you're Indiana Jones fans, let me know what you think. Very interesting poster. Very, very artistic, retro. It kind of gives off a lot more detail about the movie than the previous poster. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, definitely check it out. It looks very interesting. And so this is another case where we have a legacy sequel. So I'm very curious watching this. This will be the first one that will not be primarily from the creators of the original Indiana Jones movies, where the story's always been by George Lucas in the past. It's always been directed by Steven Spielberg. So this is Steven Spielberg is still on board in a producing capacity, but really James Mangold's directing this. It's not written. It's not from a story by George Lucas. So this is the first, I think, legacy sequel to the Indiana Jones series. And we'll see, do they follow these rules that I seem to notice about Cobra Kai? And I think all of us, when we watch this, we can use Cobra Kai as a reference. And I bet whether you like it or not like it, it will depend upon these core traits that are found in the Cobra Kai series, where they do legacy sequels so well. So anyway, let me know what you think. And I just want to let you know that that trailer's out there, so definitely check it out. Talking Straight with Nate. Great to see you. That's funny. Someone said, I just saw some community theater where they had a skin of the actor who played Kylo Ren was kidnapped because he killed Han Solo. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's something. My goodness. Jaws, of course, brings everything back to Terry Silver. Terry brought balance to the Cobra Kai dojo. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And what will he do in the future? That's so interesting. If those of you, I know we've got a long wait till Cobra Kai season 6, but if you're interested, keep an eye out for our future. I've been working with Drew, the Cobra Kai kid, on writing season 6, from our perspective with viewer comments. And we're going to go through what we think could happen in Cobra Kai season 6. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Terry Silver and how he's going to play into Cobra Kai season 6, both maybe an hour version and then later, of course, the real version. And so please join us. I think you'll like it if you're interested. So anyway, let's move on. Those of you may know, look at this. So we've got Sholo as the Blue Beetle. Everyone may have seen the trailer this past week. Looked really interesting. Of course, it's great to see him starring in a huge major motion picture, superhero motion picture. And I think you can tell just by watching this movie that Sholo, he's a movie star. He was always such a great actor, wonderful performances, Miguel on Cobra Kai. But we can tell, I think, by even just looking at this trailer that he is a movie star. I think he's destined for great things. And we can all say we knew him when he was Miguel on Cobra Kai. So I am so super excited to see what happens with Blue Beetle. Liz commented on my YouTube page. Always great to hear from Liz. She said, I'm not familiar with the character, but this trailer reminds me of the Greatest American Hero TV show in the 80s. He has this amazing suit that gives him powers, superpowers, but he doesn't really know how to control the suit. So he ends up crashing and malfunctioning all the time. Indeed. And this was such a great comment because the Greatest American Hero, I don't know how many of you have seen this show. This is one of my favorite shows of all time. He was actually Ralph Hinckley in Greatest American Hero was the first superhero I ever saw. I was so young and it was reruns of this show on television. And I was probably 3 or 4 years old when I first saw this series. And it is just absolutely hilarious. I think you can watch it on Tubi. You can get it on DVD. I personally would have a dream to write and direct a rebirth of the Greatest American Hero because it's so good and there's so much potential for fun. And I really liked Liz's comment that the Blue Beetle starring Xolo Maridueña is very similar to Greatest American Hero. It's like the powers are in the suit. He kind of doesn't know what he's doing. And it's a lot of opportunity for humor. And, it's almost like what would any of us do? We're not born with superpowers, but what if we were just given these superpowers in this suit and we had to figure out how this works? Kind of really, really fun concept. Darkest Hour says, I'm old enough to enjoy that show. Yeah, it's a great show. It's a wonderful show. Nerd World says, I think people will watch Cobra Kai after they watched Blue Beetle and the other way around. Yeah, and it's a great thought because what happens if the movie explodes? Xolo is super, super famous. That drives viewership to Cobra Kai and even more people check out the show. And I guess that could really help for Cobra Kai season 6 as far as viewership. But, what are they going to do? Is it possible that they could try and pitch a series to Xolo based on Miguel? Could it be a Miguel series? I don't know. We're going to have to wait to hear what Ralph Macchio has to say. He gave some interesting comments on the future of Cobra Kai or the spinoffs. But in the meantime, yeah, I can't wait to check out the Blue Beetle. I think Xolo's going to be fantastic in it. Darkest Hour says George Costanza used that theme song for his answering machine on Seinfeld. Indeed, guys, the Greatest American Hero, I'll put it up again, probably has the most famous, catchy theme song in any TV show ever, believe it or not. And so you'll remember on Seinfeld, George Costanza has his own version, as Believe It or Not. Nobody's at home. I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but it's pretty funny. But yeah, Google that song on YouTube. Believe it or not, it's fun. It's great, and it captures the tone of that show so well. Marianella says, I think many of us will go see Blue Beetle just because Xolo shows up. Yes. Also from the trailer, the movie seems to be great. It looks like a lot of fun. And it looks like it's free of all this baggage, this sort of DC baggage, and it's got its own tone and it's going to do its own thing. And I hope it can like bust out. I hope this can be the first new fresh superhero movie that kind of busts through the fatigue that a lot of people have been complaining about. So Darkest Hour says Jacob Bertrand as Booster Gold and Blue Beetle too. That would be great. I'll be honest with you. I haven't read Blue Beetle yet. I'm going to have to do that. I'm interested to do that. So I will, as I'm reading, I will think of Jacob Bertrand in it. That would be a lot of fun. Talking Straight with Nate says, what happened was after some back and forth, they finally freed Adam. Of course, he tried to bring them into reality. Then he force chokes them. Right. Yeah. It's very, I know that whole situation is just so interesting with all these superhero movies. Jaws says about the new Ferris Bueller Day Off spinoff movie, right, that John, Josh, and Hayden are working on. Do you think it can be a great, nice surprise like it was with Cobra Kai? Maybe the big three have a great screenplay. I think that if they're working on something, they're passionate about it. And if they're passionate about it, I think it's going to be good because that passion just shines through. If you have a creator who's very passionate about something, that really shines through. And at this point, I think they've achieved a level of success that, the studios would trust them. They can make that the way they want to make it. And look what they did with Cobra Kai. That's all I have to say. And then what could they do with a Ferris Bueller spinoff? They're masters of the legacy sequel. So I am just very excited to see what they're going to do with Ferris Bueller, which is interesting because, it's again from that era. So it's they're masters of that era. They understand it so well, and it's like they're updating another movie from the 80s era. Really, really fantastic. So let's see, what else do we have? Okay, I mentioned this before. We're still going through news. Jaws posted this today. Happy birthday, Francis Ford Coppola. And I don't know where you got that. Is a great find on that picture. Yes, I wish Francis a very happy birthday. One of the greatest, if not the greatest filmmaker of all time. It's tough to say the greatest because there are a lot of amazing directors, but certainly one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Wonderful to work with him, and I learned so much. I worked with him on an experimental project he did called Distant Vision, and what that was a trying to do live cinema. So he has this idea that you could basically make a movie and do it live and broadcast it live with actors the same way you would watch a play. But it could be broadcast everywhere simultaneously, and it would have that spontaneity of a play. And it was really fascinating to be part of that and to see how he structured that. And we did it. We did a version. So we came up with a version of that was broadcast out to very elite, select audiences. And, I think he's done future versions of that. Honestly, I don't know. I don't talk much about this, but I do have like a ton of behind the scenes footage. Maybe I should put it together sometime if anyone's interested. It was a really fascinating project to work on. It was great. Okay, so all right, we'll get back to this poll here. Now, a lot of you I know voted in this poll. How many times does Daniel say Mr. Miyagi in the Cobra Kai movies? Well, we are going to find out the answer to that. But first, we've already been in discussions, but let's just throw this officially into KenCast discussion.
KenCast discussion.
Okay, so here we go. This is the poll I threw out. How many times did Daniel say Mr. Miyagi to him directly in the first 3 Karate Kid movies? Okay, now, so I had these choices. One of them is correct, and I've got Matt Moore here to back me up. So 36, 42, 49, 56, and 64. And most of you, actually half of you, as of the time I captured this, we had 320 people voting. Almost half said 42 times. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, and if you guys if you didn't get a chance to vote in this and you want to throw down your numbers right now, I will actually play to you every time Daniel says Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid movies. I did a short, I cut them all together, and then you can see and maybe count along to see how many times he actually says it. But I will give you guys one more chance if you want to throw in your ideas. You can do that right now in the chat. Matt Moore says yesterday we had Peyton List's birthday. You're right. Some other Cobra Kai channel mentioned it. You're right. This is a great time for birthdays, guys. It's just a great time to be born. Springtime. It's wonderful. So okay, here we go. We are going to play this video, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and you can count along. Here we go.
Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Hey, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. What do you think, Mr. Miyagi? Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Hey, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Hey, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Come on, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Hey, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi, I'm home. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Hey, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Hey, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Hey, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. See you later, Mr. Miyagi. 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 Hey, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi.
Okay, there you go, guys. I don't know if you're able to count. That was an interesting project to actually try and find every single instance of him saying Mr. Miyagi to Mr. Miyagi's face. So I'm going to bring this back up again. I know you're waiting with bated breath. What was the total number? I don't know if you're able to count along, but the total number was 64. It's the highest number here. So 12% of voters got it right. He says it 64 times in the first 3 Karate Kid movies. And Robana has a great point. I think he says it more in Karate Kid 3 than any of the others. Yes, he 100% does. And what I thought was really interesting was Karate Kid 3, he says Mr. Miyagi the most. But in Karate Kid 2, he only says it towards the beginning of the movie. The entire rest of the movie, he does not, like once they get to Okinawa, he never says Mr. Miyagi, which was so interesting. It almost gave it a different feel, like Daniel himself was growing, and he was speaking to Mr. Miyagi more directly as a friend, as opposed to like a Mr. Miyagi. He was just talking directly to him. Whereas in the third one, I know a lot of people said that it seemed like Daniel was sort of regressing as a character. And you can kind of see that in Karate Kid 3. It's like he's going back to saying Mr. Miyagi and almost like looking up to him again and becoming younger again. And I just thought that was such an interesting change from Karate Kid 2. So Nerd World says, and before it is hey or oh, Mr. Miyagi. Yes, he said that. He said that quite a bit. And the Talking Straight with Nate says, we'll have to get back to this. Speaking of iconic theme songs, remember that one at the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off? Oh yeah. Yeah. And that John, Josh, and Hayden are going to be all over the soundtracks for all of these. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. We had Matt Moore, who was in this chat. I don't know if you're here anymore, Matt, but he commented, I'm about halfway through the film. Got a great idea for a short. Capture every time Mr. Miyagi gets frustrated with Daniel, does something incorrectly, and says, that. Is that what he says? I can't quite make it out, and closed captioning doesn't pick it up either. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So that would be very interesting. How many times does Miyagi respond to Daniel, maybe in a disapproving way? So anyway, thank you everyone for voting. Hopefully you had a little fun and were a little bit surprised by the answer. Strife the Warrior, ducking out while you still can. Don't give the suck in the live stream. Give him guts. I told you I wasn't going away. You got your shot. Now give me mine. That's great. Strife the Warrior, thanks for joining us, everyone. Strife is just doing such amazing job. If you want analysis, it's just incredible, like what he's doing. Check out, he's had some amazing Rocky themed material. Some great videos about what you missed in Creed 3, and also another one on which is the better cut, the theatrical or the new director's cut of Rocky 4. So go over, subscribe to Strife the Warrior. He's on here as a regular guest on KenCast. Very, very smart, very, very entertaining. And yes, Strife, I hope you've been doing well too. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for all the great content and lots of great stuff. Marian Ellis says, I wonder how many times he says Mr. Miyagi in Cobra Kai. That might have to be another one. Of course, that will take a bit longer to get through all the episodes of Cobra Kai, but he does reference Mr. Miyagi quite a bit. So yeah, I thought it was so funny watching all those like together in a stream. So it was very, very funny. Strife says, you're too kind, Ken. Thanks for the love. Oh yeah, 100%. Thank you, Strife. Jaws says, Glenn Medeiros said 2 songs in Karate Kid 3 soundtrack, and another song appears in this movie. I think his music deserves to appear in Cobra Kai series. Yeah, and you know, of course, we've got Joe Esposito, You're the Best Around. It's been brought out to public attention that Joe Esposito does have a song that could be the same for Johnny, like a new song that's almost like a You're the Best Around, but for Johnny. And I don't know if they're going to use that in Cobra Kai season 6. We'll have to see where the story goes, but he's done it. He's created the song. So we'll have to see. So many great creators of music back from that era as well. Eric's, thanks for joining us. Oh yeah, how much did the next Karate Kid did she say, Mr. Miyagi? It's a good question. Maybe, I don't know. If I were to guess, I would say maybe about the same times as in Karate Kid 1, I'm guessing, but I don't know. I'd have to go back and check that. Maybe we could do a short on that too. Talking Straight with Nate, does the few times he mispronounced Mr. Miyagi count? I did not count those. I only counted the Mr. Miyagi, but he only mispronounces Miyagi maybe 2 or 3 times. So you'd still be close. You'd still be up in the 60s for how many times he says Mr. Miyagi. Very, very fascinating. So anyway, yeah, anything else you'd like to talk about, guys? This is just sort of like a chill Friday live stream. You know, I hope all of you have like an amazing weekend lined up. I'm not exactly sure. The only thing I know for sure that I'm going to do is I am going to go see the Super Mario Brothers movie. I am a Super Mario fan from when I was very young. And I think all of us who are fans have been waiting decades for a movie that could realize the potential of that series. And I am just so excited to see it. I have seen on Rotten Tomatoes that there's like this huge disparity between critics and audience members. Audience members are loving it. It got an A cinema score, which is absolutely phenomenal. That means that the audience, they did test audiences and they found that the audience got exactly what they were expecting. And they really enjoyed the movie based on their expectations of what it would be. And of course, the audience ratings on Rotten Tomatoes are super high, but the critics are about 50%. Like a lot of critics don't like it. And this will be very interesting to see. I think for me, like I'm willing to bet that a lot of the critics out there aren't gamers or maybe haven't played Mario or they don't have that affection for Mario. They didn't watch the Super Mario Brothers Super Show like, you know, some of us did back in the day. But I am so looking forward to it. I'm so glad I can see this new movie on my birthday. It feels like an extra special present. And I don't know how many of you are Mario fans, but I was thinking about going down and doing a video at some point of the Super Nintendo world that's now open in Universal Hollywood, Universal Studios Hollywood. Would you be interested in that? I don't know. I'm around the LA area. So if you guys are interested in content for anything around here, just let me know. But let's see. Grandin, hello. Thanks for joining us. It's great to see you. Darkest Hour says, stay through the credits. Heard there's a post-credit scene in Mario Brothers. Definitely. I think this will be the kind of movie where I stay the entire credits, 100%. Strife the Warrior says, Ken, now that Creed 3 is out on streaming, let's do a spoiler discussion now. That would be really interesting. because those of you who have been watching KenCast Live know that Strife and I did a discussion about Creed 3 where we avoided spoilers. You can watch it on YouTube. You can also watch it, of course, on the KenCast podcast, or listen to it on the KenCast podcast. That's available now anywhere you listen to podcasts. So go listen to that episode. You can hear me and Strife talk about our initial reactions to Creed 3. But now we can do a spoiler discussion. So you're right, Strife. We might have to do that. I agree. And it's on Prime Video. If you're a fan of the series, go check it out. Jaws says Warrior or Bowser. I'll go Bowser. I'm classic as far as that goes. Robana has a great point. Who cares what critics say as long as you like it? Right. I totally agree. I will say this. Critics are interesting to me because they tend to be very huge fans of movies in general. They see a lot. They see a lot more than the rest of us. And a lot of them are very good as far as like the film theory, film history. They're very good at film analysis. And so I enjoy listening to critics who love movies and have a deep knowledge of movies. So it's not that I care so much. It's more that I'm kind of like interested from a film analysis, film criticism standpoint. However, I'm curious to see where things went off the rails for critics on the new Super Mario Brothers movie. Number one, do I like it? I don't know. That's the most important thing. But I'm wondering if I could kind of figure out what is that difference between the audience and the critics. What are those qualities about the movies that didn't register with critics? And are critics being a little bit hypocritical regarding this movie versus other blockbusters? I feel like the critics have given a pass to a lot of movies that they shouldn't have, like big tentpole Disney type movies sometimes that are a little bit hyped too much by critics. So I don't know. That's all very interesting to me. So we'll see, and let me know if you feel the same way. Peter Bonasak says, I'm watching the Ben Affleck movie Air. Yes, that's another huge one that I really want to see. The buzz on that is phenomenal. People have loved it. So I definitely want to see that as well. The only reason I'm not seeing that first is I feel like this has been 30 years pent up to see a Super Mario movie. Of course, we got the Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo, Dennis Hopper Super Mario movie, which I know people are like critically reevaluating it now. I know Quentin Tarantino did a screening of it at his theater, which is really cool. And I think there are things about it to admire. But honestly, as a kid watching that old Super Mario Brothers movie, I just thought it was okay. Like it really didn't capture the game. And it might be interesting on a certain level, but my own opinion is you can watch it on Riff Tracks. If you guys watch Riff Tracks, it's some Mystery Science Theater guys. They have their own thing called Riff Tracks. They're so funny. They riff these movies. They have a version of Super Mario Brothers 1993 where you can download and just watch it with the riffs embedded in. And I think that's the way to watch it. It's super entertaining. But definitely, Peter, enjoy Air. Let us know what you think as well. Strife says also you should go to Super Nintendo World. I'd want to go someday. Yeah, okay. I'll go. And I'll take a camera. You know, we'll do it. Here's one thing. I have a camera. I actually have a VR camera. So I have a VR 180 camera that I can take there. I don't know if you guys do virtual reality. YouTube supports that. So one thing I could do, and I've done this for Disney World and like some other places like Pirates Cove, where I've done actual VR videos of these locations. I could do that of Super Nintendo World. Let me know. It's a whole different audience that's interested in that. And I don't know how many of you have like the VR goggles, but I can do that if you're interested. Darkest Hours, Shazam 2 streaming now. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I was interested in checking that out. Of course, that's another one where it seemed like people were hitting the wall on superhero fatigue, and it really disappointed, I guess, in terms of box office results. I'd be interested to check it out. Are people being too hard on it? Is it too generic? Is it funny? I enjoyed the first one. Yes. Peter says, Yes, can join me for a review on Podstalgic. Yeah, I mean, sure, absolutely. If you ever want to do a review, Peter, on that, I'm 100% down. I'll have to watch it again, but that's that's so fun. Um, let's see. Oh, it looks like a lot of fans here. Wario's Johnny, maybe Bowser is Terry or Crease. I'd say Bowser's more Crease. Bowser's much more of a Crease type character. That's just me. Um, Clifford, did they ever say Mr. Miyagi's first name? No, except Next Karate Kid. That's where we heard a version of that, and then we see on the Cobra Kai series on his gravestone we see his first name, but never in the first 3 movies. We didn't know his name. Strife the Warrior says, I haven't seen the new Mario movie yet. Not a fan of Chris Pratt usurping Charles Martinet as Mario, but I've heard nothing but good things. I have heard that it makes sense when you watch the movie and that Charles Martinet is still involved in the movie. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm curious as to how they do that. Darkest Hour says he already saw Air. Really good and really great soundtrack. Excellent. Great to know. Robana says, I've watched a lot of the critic reviews on YouTube. I guess the story is a bit lacking, and that's where the problem lies. Interesting. Okay. Well, then again, for those of us who love the game, is it really heavily story based? What is it about? Eye candy? Is it about fun? Is it about Mario jumping around and doing all these things? I don't know if I'd be interested in a very deep story about Mario. So I'm curious to see what the critics are expecting as far as Mario's story versus what me and classic gamer is interested in as well. Strife the Warrior says, I feel like people are treating it like the new Mortal Kombat movie. The movie was really good to the lore, but didn't like the Cole storyline, which is understandable. Yeah. I haven't seen the new Mortal Kombat movie, so maybe I'll have to check that out to see exactly what people are complaining about. Jaws says Super Mario Brothers movie of the 90s or the next Karate Kid. Ooh. Oh dear. Oh man. That's tough. That's really tough. They're kind of on the same level for me. And I don't know if we did just probably the deepest analysis of the next Karate Kid with the Last Row podcast. We did that on KenCast. And it's actually available now on the podcast version. Listen to that if you're a fan of the next Karate Kid. I have some affection for the next Karate Kid because of Pat Morita's in it. And there are some, Hilary Swank's an amazing actress. And of course, Colonel Dugan, Michael Ironside he's a force. He's an institution in these movies. But I'm not, it's just not a good movie. The next Karate Kid. I appreciate it for all its qualities that would appeal to fans of the Karate Kid, that's for sure. But I'm not a fan of that movie. And it's almost the same thing with the Super Mario Brothers movie. Like I appreciate that it's Mario. I appreciate Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, great actors. Bob Hoskins is probably a perfect casting choice for Mario. Dennis Hopper playing Bowser, he's just an amazing actor. But just everything about it, like I admire the production design. It's quirky and offbeat, but it's kind of the same thing. It just felt, I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, so it's probably, I don't know if I could pick. I really don't know if I could pick between those two. Maybe a slight edge to the next Karate Kid. Yeah. Strife says we got shafted in the 90s as far as video game movies. Yeah. They really didn't know how to do them back then. And it was tough because it would be harder to do animation. Like you could have done an amazing animated, like Disney or Fox level theatrical animated movie on Mario. You could have done that in the 90s, but they never did that. And instead they always wanted to do live action, which, I think you'd need someone very creative to translate a video game, especially those video games back then. It's not like now, right, guys, with like The Last of Us, you've got, which is like a narrative. It's almost like you're playing a movie. It's very story focused. It's very character focused. And so when you're making the show or the movie, you're taking that story. That's that's not what it was like back then. I mean, it's Mario. He's jumping on turtles and getting power-ups, and it's so simple, and it's just a game. How are you going to turn that into a movie? And so yeah, it was tough. Back in the 90s for creators. Grandin, I talked to John Hurwitz, and he said Bobby Brown is going to return for the last season. Well, interesting. I don't doubt you. I don't know. I might have to see that for myself. I hope so. I hope that's great. That's wonderful. That's great. I'd love to see Bobby Brown. I have a feeling that everyone's going to make an appearance in season 6. I could be wrong, but it seems like they're really if they're going to go out with a bang, especially with Hayden saying it was something like Thanksgiving dinner. If every other season was just a meal, this is Thanksgiving dinner, makes me feel like everyone's going to show up if it's like Thanksgiving. So, Jaws says, I love Super Mario All-Stars and Mario Kart, but my favorite from childhood is Super Mario 3. Yeah, Jaws, like Super Mario 3, I can't overstate how incredible that was when it came out. It was such an amazing evolution of that series. Imagine playing Super Mario 1, where it's basically this fun game of like jumping around and you're just avoiding pits, and you got fireballs and whatever, and you're just going through the stages, and you get to the end and you beat it, and it goes over and over again. Then you have Super Mario 2, which is a kind of a repurposed version of Doki Doki Panic. And so it didn't start out as a Mario game, but it still was fun. It was very different, but I think it was just one of those things that if you loved the first one, it didn't necessarily mean you were going to love the second one because it was so different. And the games in that era, they made the sequels very different than the first game. Not only from Super Mario 2, you have Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2, very different. You have Castlevania 2. Like, they really changed from the original back in the 80s during that time. Super Mario 3, it's like they just took their time, and it was such a bigger game. It was so much more thought out. It blew up this world of Mario, and it was just incredible. An amazing game. Probably the biggest leap forward, I think, in a video game series. I could be wrong on that, but it was just such a leap forward. Grandin says, do you guys think Dutch should come back? I do. But again, only with the consent of Chad McQueen. He was really great, but I would love to see him again. Peter says, I meant you joined me to talk Creed 3. Oh, yes, of course. I am so sorry. Yes, we talked on Podstalgic about Creed 3. We had an amazing conversation. I suggest everyone check it out. I am so sorry, Peter. I took that to mean that you wanted to do a new Podstalgic about Super Mario Brothers, the 1993 movie. If you want to, we can. But right now, if you want to hear me and Peter talk about Creed 3, you can check out Podstalgic. We had this great conversation about that movie, and I am always honored to be a guest on Podstalgic. Just such great content coming from Peter. So thank you very much, Peter. Let's see. Metal says, hey, have you heard of this AI language called ChatGPT? You should definitely check it out whenever you have a chance. Yeah, thank you for letting us know. Yes, AI seems to be the talk of the town nowadays. What can it do? What can't it do? Some people say that maybe AI, ChatGPT, has already written many movies that we see. They seem kind of very generic, but we shall see. Robana says the Mario Brothers movie, like Mad Max with dinosaurs. Yes. Darkest Tower says still waiting on a live action Legend of Zelda. That has a lot of potential. I think that has to go into the hands of the right creators, because that would have to be more character focused. Like, if people are accusing the new Super Mario movie of being thin on character and plot, I don't think you could do that with a Zelda movie. It would have to have much more robust characters, much deeper. I mean, it's fantasy. So I think you'd need some great writers on that to really flesh that out. Strife says the only decent 90s video game movie I say is Mortal Kombat. As far as accuracy, Carrie is iconic as Shang Tsung. Yeah. That was an interesting time. There was Mortal Kombat. I think that really excited everyone at the time. And then that was successful. And they made Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which was less successful. But Matt Moore also brings up the Street Fighter movie was all right for a 90s movie. It's a cult classic. I'll be honest, I saw that in theaters, the Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Ming-Na Wen, and who else was in that movie? Oh, Raul Julia, of course. His final performance, he was really amazing. I thought it was okay, but I have affection for parts of that. Obviously, Raul Julia was just fantastic. It was fun seeing Van Damme doing his thing as Guile. I don't know if you could say it's like a good movie, but I have affection for it, So I agree. It is a cult classic. All right, Metal. Putting you in timeout. I'm sorry. We've heard about Chat GPT. AEH says, I really hope we see a lot of Terry in the last season. I know. As a Terry Silver fan myself, I hope he plays a significant role in the final season. I understand that there's a lot that has to happen in the final season. And a lot of people would say that maybe season 5, Terry had his huge shining moment in the spotlight. He was kind of the center of everything. But he was such a big character in season 5 that I would think that even if he's maybe not in all the episodes in season 6, or maybe if he's gone for a few, that he would still have a significant presence and be very important to what happens in the final outcome of the series. I don't see how you could not have Terry there. He's too good. So Strife says, oh, that's another good discussion we could have. I know the complete story behind Mario 2. Yeah, that's me too. That's a really fantastic, or at least I know the version of the story. A gaming historian did this amazing video on Mario 2, which was just fantastic with actual footage from Doki Doki Panic. Really fantastic. Peter says, Ken is joining me from the 1993 film. You heard it here first. I'll do it. Peter, if you want to do it, I'll do it. I will talk about that movie if you want to talk about it. 100%. Matt Moore says, I think this is the Karate Kid trilogy. When I rewatched the trilogy, I paid attention to the background. When Johnny first fights Daniel on the beach, Dutch was getting very grabby with Allie. I'd be upset if I were Johnny in that moment. I'd have to pay more attention to that. I guess I just look at the things I've always looked at and I didn't notice. I'll pay attention to that. Yeah, he was, I wouldn't put that past Dutch. He's not necessarily the most savory of characters, but that's why he's a good villain, right? Ahmad says, will we see Julie Pierce at all in season 6? Well, that is the question. A lot of people have been wondering, are we going to see Julie Pierce? Will Hilary Swank return? I think it has to happen, personally. I think there's too much public anticipation and awareness. Hilary Swank herself was asked this publicly this past fall. She says it's the number one question she gets. The Cobra Kai creators, and at least John Hurwitz, has tweeted that, they admire Hilary Swank so much as an actress, and it would be amazing to work with her. I think there's no getting around that. I think we don't know for sure. But I think it kind of has to happen. I think it's inevitable. And it would be amazing if she actually shows up for a chunk of season 6. I have some story pitches that I'm going to do with Cobra Kai Kid. I have some ideas of what Julie Pierce and why she could show up. Why would she be in season 6? And I think that would be pretty cool. And there'd be some good reasons as to why Julie Pierce, and those of you maybe have thought about this too. Why would Julie Pierce be involved in Cobra Kai season 6? Why might they need her to be involved in season 6? I don't know. Think about that. I have some theories. I have some ideas on why we might need to see Julie Pierce. Let's see. Oh, Drew. Good to see you, Drew. Drew, and thank you for alerting me of Star Wars this morning. Very, very great. The fact that Raul Julia was dying of cancer while putting on an acting clinic during that film makes it even more impressive. Yes, and I would I would say listen to, if you guys haven't listened to the Last Row podcast, Drew comes on here regularly as a guest on KenCast. We had the Last Row podcast discussion with Next Karate Kid and about Next Karate Kid with Drew and Badway from the Last Row podcast. Guys, check out their episode on Street Fighter if you're interested. They really do this amazing deep dive into the movie and really talk about Raul Julia. They put him on the villain scale. It's really this great analysis of the movie, and I totally agree. He's just did such an amazing job. And I remember a friend of mine at the time, Matt Stanelman, who became an actor, he said he kind of felt bad that that was Raul Julia's last performance. And I get that. But at this time, I also felt that, you know something, that was a great character and he did a great job with it. Even if the movie didn't work in every single way, it was something very new that he hadn't done before. And I really thoroughly enjoyed his performance in Street Fighter. Yeah. Matt Moore says, I hope we see Terry go poor and make revenge 100%. Yeah. You know, there are a lot of possibilities with Terry. I'll be pitching my own ideas with Drew, the Cobra Kai kid, on how we could see Terry in season 6 as well. But there's a lot to speculate about, that's for sure. And they're writing it right now. In fact, they might be kind of towards the end of the writing process because they're going to start shooting in about a month. So it's exciting. Jaws says, do you think Mary Page Keller will be in the final season? I don't know. That's a good question. They might have a part for her. They might. Of course, she's a very talented writer, producer, and actress herself. So it's probably up to her and her schedule, you know, if she wants to do it, if there's a part she's interested in. But you know, she's phenomenal too. And just the dynamic duo of Mary Page Keller and Thomasine Griffith, it's just a creative force, 100%. Yes, Raul Julia is absolutely amazing. Darkest Hour, Ken, I have my theory on Julie's return too. Once again, heals a broken hawk. Oh, interesting. Yes, that's right. Yes. And I remember you saying that. And you're right. There is that reference to Hawk. Hawk. Is it also a reference to the next Karate Kid? So yeah, I love it. I think that's a great idea. Watch Party did an entire video on how Julie could appear in season 6. Yes, I'll have to check that out. I love Watch Party stuff, and I'm hoping to have Watch Party back on here along with Peter and along with Drew, where we do prop bets, and I think Chris Maffei too. We might see if we can get him back. He makes such great videos that at the premiere, I heard people at the premiere saying that they're basically spoilers. Like, he does such a good job of guessing what might happen. I'll be honest, it's tricky as a creator because sometimes, like, I want to watch party stuff. I want to watch everyone else's stuff, especially like Strife stuff. But I want to make sure that if I do a video on it, I'm not getting ideas from everyone else. I want to make sure it's separate. So in this case, what I might do is I will check out his video, but probably after I get my ideas out there about what might happen with Julie in season 6, then I'll check out his stuff. He's really phenomenal, very smart. He understands this so well. Oh, 100%, Drew. Thank you. Drew's you know, I'm so lucky to know so many amazing creators, talented people, and that they're actually here in this chat right now. So I hope if you're at work right now or about to go home from work, I hope your week has been good. I hope it's been a good week. And, you know, if you're watching this at work right now, then, you know, I won't tell. And you probably need a little break too from the grind. So thanks for watching. Matt Moore says, gotta go, guys. Have a great Easter Passover weekend. Whatever. Save Terry Silver. Yes, 100%. Save Silver, 100%. Talking Straight with Nate has a few Julie theories. I still love your Rembrandt scenario, Talking Straight with Nate. I brought it up multiple times on KenCast. So that's absolutely phenomenal. You know something, guys? We have been talking so much that I actually forgot to bring this up. If you're on board, we have some new comments from Ralph Macchio. Maybe this will be our last discussion about this today, but basically, on a recent podcast interview, Ralph Macchio is talking about what's next. And so let's read through this together. This is on Screen Rant. He says, I've walked in the shoes of Daniel LaRusso since 1983, so they're pretty comfortable shoes. I never cease to be amazed of the longevity and the relevance of that character. And in that world, so I look at it going into season 6, that feels right to me, that it's time to bring kind of Cobra Kai proper in for a landing. And that's why I say Cobra Kai proper. That's the section of this universe. It's sort of like talking about the MCU, right? This sort of the Karate Kid cinematic universe. Is it really over? Is there, are there prequel ideas? Are there concepts for spinning off some of the younger cast characters or some of the OG characters that would make sense in a story? Look what Better Call Saul did out of Breaking Bad. 2 totally different feels, and yet both successful. I thought decades ago I would never be Daniel LaRusso. And now it's richer and deeper than ever, and I can't imagine this being the end of that. If it is, then it's time. But I think conceptually, what Cobra Kai, the amount of OG characters that have been brought back and every actor who's come back from the original franchise literally knocked it out of the park. The actors, everyone comes in with such a pride that they were part of that, part of the legacy. Even the kids in our show really don't take it for granted. I'm really proud of them for not being in that entitled generation. They feel like they're walking on hallowed ground, and they do a great job of carrying the torch forward. But conceptually, the rivalries, who's going to prevail? How deep in the valley can you possibly go and still keep that rivalry going in a fresh, original way? I think it's smart. So many shows are given the axe, and you look at Netflix. I mean, how many shows on Netflix go to 6 seasons? It's a good point. And mind you, we came in late. Netflix is often, cut shows off before season 6 for whatever reason. You don't want to overstay your welcome. So I think it's a good point. But I think we will see more characters and other content, whether LaRusso comes in and out of any of those. Well, we'll talk next time on that. Wow. Interesting, guys. Okay. So that I'll be honest with you. I saw this and this is the first time I read through all of this. And so my initial thoughts are, it seems to me that Ralph Macchio is totally on board with coming back as Daniel LaRusso, at least with this creative team, if they're involved. It seems like he's really enjoyed his experience on Cobra Kai, which is wonderful. And he brought up the idea of a spin-off with younger characters, but he also multiple times talked about the OG legacy characters. And he talked about, hey, is this going to be Daniel LaRusso returning? Maybe. We'll have to talk next time. So I think you can tell maybe from this, if you read between the lines, that there seem to be discussions happening right now. Nothing's been finalized, but it seems like there are discussions of a spinoff or other types of movies or shows that might include Daniel LaRusso, but haven't been greenlit yet because he just seems very favorable to that. And he's kind of suggesting that, which is kind of exciting, I'm really curious as to what's going to happen. We talked before about Xolo Maridueña playing the Blue Beetle. And if this is a huge hit and Xolo becomes a movie star, the next thing that's going to come out is going to be probably Cobra Kai season 6. And the fact that he's headlining Cobra Kai season 6, the ratings just might go through the roof. So would Netflix, would John, Josh, and Hayden come back with a Miguel series? Something focused on Miguel where he has his own adventures. Maybe it's time for him to go off to college. I don't know what that would be, but that would be an opportunity for Johnny and Carmen and all these characters to appear. Would Sam be a part of that series as well? I don't know. It's interesting. What about OG characters? Daniel LaRusso, Johnny Lawrence. Of course, I've got my own, wishes for a Terry Silver series. That'd be fantastic. A Tom Cole series. My goodness, or at least Cobra Cole 2. You guys brought that up. That would be fun. I just love the character of Tom Cole. What's going on? How do you do a Better Call Saul version of Cobra Kai? I think it would be interesting to come at it from maybe sort of like the Terry Silver end or the villain end, and look at it from that direction. That would be a lot of fun. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it's definitely something that could happen. Peter says not finalized or not announced. Well, I don't know. See, Peter knows a bit more than I do about these things, but I think from my own experience, people in these situations like Ralph Macchio, they don't bring up ideas like this unless there's, I think, a decent likelihood of them possibly happening. So if none of this was under discussion, if there were no ideas for spinoffs with OG characters, I don't think Ralph Macchio would be bringing this up because he'd be kind of speaking out of turn. He might be putting people in awkward positions. But to me, this is just my opinion. If he's talking about this in an article, that means there are unofficial discussions, ideas passing behind the scenes, that looks like they're in play and that he's on board with that. And so I think that's what's going on. All of this is under the table, unofficial, but it's kind of like, if you'll have to see if you agree with this, but do you remember back before season 6 got the green light? And I think it was in December, and Ralph Macchio was giving this interview about season 6. And he's like, we're, really looking forward to, hopeful, about season 6. Of course, nothing's been officially confirmed yet. I got to say that we haven't been officially renewed yet, but you could tell by the entire tone is that he was very positive about that. And you kind of knew that there was going to be a season 6, and he really wasn't that worried. And I kind of get this sense here. There are a lot of projects happening right now that he is bullish on, let's say, which is really great. Oliver says we need a Silver and Miyagi spinoff. I agree. There's so many great characters they've even introduced. I mentioned, of course, Tom Cole, but what about Kim Da-eun? Amazing character. What about, and Alicia Hannah Kim? And I think that's the exciting thing for all the actors involved. They could be part of spinoffs. Ahmad said, could Snake and Dennis bail out and support Terry Silver? I would love to see Snake and Dennis back. We've had William Christopher Ford, Sensei William Christopher Ford, on here multiple times. He is a master martial artist, even though he's very humble, but he's just absolutely incredible. I think they just need to find John Alvinson, who plays Snake. I'm sure the producers have the resources to find out where he is, and hopefully he would agree to become Snake again. That would be just absolutely incredible. I think fans would lose their mind. And as William Christopher Ford said, that kind of deviousness, that glint in Snake's eye in Karate Kid 3, that's real. Like John Alvinson has that. It's like he's got that rebel, dangerous quality to him. And I think that'd be amazing to see that again in the Cobra Kai series. We'll have to see. Marianella, I agree. Spinoff with Terry Silver, 100%. Save Silver. He's got to come out. And you have to believe with someone with the resources of Terry Silver, oh my goodness, the world is his oyster. Anything could happen. The story possibilities are endless. I would be very excited to see that. Jaws says the fact that Terry and Kreese had young characters in Cobra Kai is the bridge for a new series. It could very well be. That would be absolutely fascinating to see. I'd love to see their time in the war and afterwards, and their relationship and how that progressed. I think I'd love to see that series of young Kreese and Silver. That could really get into very different themes of loyalty, friendship, patriotism, the stresses on relationships, what contributed to their psychology. We could probably sympathize more with them after watching a show like that, and kind of see that who are these upstarts, LaRusso and Miyagi, who kind of invade, all this Cobra Kai thing that they've built. So Oscar says maybe Cheyenne bails out Silver. Yeah, maybe. It's possible. I don't know. My impression was that Cheyenne was kind of mooching off of Terry, like for his influence and money regarding her app. She might not be independently wealthy, and maybe she's not that excited about Terry after he ghosted her in season 1. Jay Wigan, wonderful to see you. Silver Increase series. I'd love to see that be the actual title, Silver Increase. Yeah, I 100%. Grandin says we have seen enough of just Kreese and Johnny together. Yeah, I have a feeling whatever that is, whatever that storyline is, we'll have a comfortable, fulfilling resolution to that by the end of season 6. That's my thought. If Terry and Kreese have series Way of the Fist, if Terry alone, Dynatox or Silver would be great titles. Yeah, and that's the thing with Terry Silver. We don't see his business side often, and that's honestly the side that's very intriguing to me, because that's the side where we, all of us who might work normal jobs, get to see a Terry Silver. What's Terry Silver like as a boss, as a CEO? What's it like working for a company? The corporate culture. What is Terry up to? I think that would be just so interesting to see. And of course, I have so many ideas racing on that. Anyway, let's see. Ben Metello, good to see you, Ben. I love your picture with Ralph Macchio, by the way. Happy Good Friday, Kenny boy. Yeah, great to see you, Ben. Thanks for joining us today. We've got Oscar Jimenez. Maybe they could do a spinoff with Kreese and Silver taking over the Valley in 85. Yeah, I mean, that was really the pinnacle, was right before Daniel came on board, right? They were ruling the Valley. Everything was working great until Daniel came along. And 1985, I guess that's when they lost it. It would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what happened to them after they lost in 1985. So yeah, I think that would be fun. Grandin, could you at least talk to John Hurwitz and make sure he puts Bobby Brown season 6 when he starts filming next month? Well, I will say I'll be honest, I am in no position to I think they know what's best. They have done such an amazing job, and I trust their instincts on what's happening. And I think we need to do that. And I hope we see Bobby in season 6, but they know what the story they want to tell, and we'll see if Bobby is part of that or not. But Rabana says a young Silver pre-Vietnam series would be great. Yeah, 100%. And guys, I want to thank you all for joining me today on this impromptu KenCast live stream. Hopefully you had fun talking. I enjoyed speaking with you. There's so much to speculate about. And we talked about everything from Star Wars to Cobra Kai to Super Mario Brothers. And I'm interested too. If you are interested in this other stuff like Super Mario Brothers or Star Wars or Indiana Jones, kind of like, we had Strife and we had Drew and we had Peter Vonasak on here. They're interested in all these things too. I'm happy to talk about it. So let me know in the comments. I have got my email if you want to get a hold of me, KenCast@gmail.com. If you have any thoughts or requests, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell and the like. That way you'll not only see new videos, but if I do posts, like community posts with quizzes and polls, you'll be part of that. You'll be aware of that, and you'll get to vote on the types of content that you'd like to see. So please do that. Thanks so much today. Thank you for the subscribers, all viewers, and of course, channel members. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you next week on KenCast. Everyone have a great holiday weekend. It's been wonderful.